Okay, here we go. All right, this is the Thursday, February 22nd, Scituate Planning Board hearing. We have an agenda that has been posted. Do we have a second?
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, first on our agenda is the public hearing for zoning map and zoning bylaw change and amendment to the zoning bylaw to prohibit marijuana establishments. So those are two items on the agenda, on this particular agenda item. Let me just read the notice of public hearing on these proposed changes. Notice is hereby given pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 5, that a public hearing will be held by the Scituate Planning Board on Thursday, February 22nd, 2018, at 7 p.m. in the Selectmen's Hearing Room, Town Hall, 600 Chief Justice, Cushing Highway, Scituate, Massachusetts, to consider amendments to the Scituate zoning bylaw as described below. These amendments will appear as articles on the warrant for the annual town meeting commencing April 9th, 2018. All references in these below sections refer to sections of the zoning bylaw. So we have two items on the agenda. The first one is zoning for Greenbush / Driftway area to amend the zoning map and zoning bylaw. And the second is the zoning for marijuana establishments to amend the zoning bylaw. And I think what I'd like to do is maybe just start off and have just a presentation on what's proposed here for each one of these. And maybe we could take them sort of one at a time if that's possible.
Sure. Brad Washburn, Planning and Development. Good to see you all tonight. So I just have a very limited number of slides to walk through this. So please, if folks on the board or the public have questions, please stop me. So this is a locus map for the proposed location, 7 New Driftway. So as you can tell, if you can see the little red pin, it's just south of the commuter rail station, right next to Tack Factory Pond, and right there on the rotary of 3A, and 123. That is the extent of my tech skills.
I'm impressed.
Yeah.
Not that it matters, but that's not really Tack Factory Pond, is it? I always thought it was Old Oaken Bucket Pond.
There you go.
It is.
Okay.
I'm still in my grace period. So.
Hey, I've lived here for 12 years. I'm still in my grace period.
So this very confusing map is actually a snapshot of our existing zoning map. I have another fancy yellow circle to show the site here. There is currently the site you can see now is kind of a light tan, so it's a residentially zoned parcel. But to the right of Old Oaken Bucket Pond, and within generally the historic Greenbush Village area, it's typically business zone with the Village Business Overlay District over that, and there's several other overlays in this area as well. So that's why it's kind of a confusing, kind of busy zoning map. And that's, again, one of the reasons we've talked about a future initiative, potentially rezone this area, just because there's, in terms from a zoning perspective, so much going on. So what the proposal to do, and what we've talked about at previous board meetings, is to kind of fill in the donut or fill in the gap. We have a property at 7 New Driftway that is currently zoned residential, but has been in business use for over 20, 30 years or more. There's been a medical office there. So actually what is there now, although I know they have an existing approval, but you couldn't do it under zoning. So we're looking to kind of, again, mirror what's surrounding in the historic Greenbush area and allow for a broader mix of uses, so business and mixed use. And that's really it, just extending that, again, the business district, the Village Business Overlay District to this site to make it consistent with the surrounding areas.
Okay, and it's just that light green area you're showing?
Yeah, so this final map, the colors just indicative of the site that we'd be rezoning.
Uh-huh.
And it would ultimately, on this confusing map, look like the rest of the district with a kind of the red business zone and then the overlay as well.
So,
And although, I just point out, although Ann Burbine isn't here, she had mentioned, and the Economic Development Council had mentioned, that this is part of sort of the larger visioning of the whole Greenbush area and economic development for the Greenbush area. And it's sort of beginning to bring the zoning sort of in concert with the future plans and visioning for Greenbush as the entryway to Scituate on the southern side of town, if you will. So
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. The EDC talked about this a few times at the most recent meetings, and this is a gateway parcel to this Greenbush Driftway district. Again, this zoning would keep it kind of harmonized with the surrounding area, but also, you know, for future zoning efforts, if we were to kind of redo that, we'd be looking at this parcel anyway, so it's really just kind of recognizing what's there now, and then again, laying a foundation for future efforts.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted to point that out.
oh, yeah, my only clarification, or just it's more of a clarification, not so much a question, but, so the Village Business Overlay District doesn't extend across New Driftway. That's just business on the south side? Is that,
The overlay? No, the overlay is, you can't tell on this map, but it's, Karen, you can know exactly.
That's
It shows
correct.
on this map, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, that's what I'm-
The current map, the previous map that, with the green parcel, no, the business district extends on the other side, but not the village
right,
business.
so
For the quote, like, near where
Yeah,
the
the
J.
hash marks are the
Right,
village
the
business.
Right.
Right.
okay, just that was more of a clarification, just to know that the Village Business Overlay District is really only to the north of New Driftway, at least on
Yeah,
that
it doesn't
area.
include the 10 New Driftway.
Okay. Yep. All right, yeah,
Sorry,
it's
I
good.
had it flipped in my mind. Like you said, VBOT only on the south, so, yeah.
Okay, any questions at this point from the board or any input?
Brad, I just said, do you happen to know offhand, like, the approximate area, either in acres or square footage of the new zone or the addition?
Of the parcel, no, we can find that out.
Okay.
I think it's somewhere around 53,000 square feet. I mean, is the whole parcel of that.
So it's a little over an acre.
I think it's a little over an acre.
Okay.
It's been medical office use since it received a variance, 1966 is when it got a variance. And it can, that building right now can only be used for medical office because that's what the variance from 66 said.
Wow.
Okay. Good. Okay, well, at this point, I will open it up to public comment. Anybody have any input on this one? Great. Okay. Do we have a motion? Do we need to vote on this to endorse?
After you close the public hearing, we vote on the report to town meeting. So
Okay.
I've given you draft reports to town meeting
Okay,
in your folders.
All right.
I mean, I guess you could do it one at a time now,
Yeah,
or
we'll-
you could do it after the hearing.
That's fine. We'll keep going. Why don't we move on to the marijuana establishments proposed, I guess the proposed ban on marijuana establishments.
So the first slide I have here, I apologize, the colors get washed out on the projector. This is a slide from the WBUR. This is where they tallied the November 16th, 2016 November statewide ballot for the legalization of recreational marijuana. I have Scituate highlighted here, so it shows the tally of votes in town, almost 48% for yes and over 52% for no. So clearly, the town did not want to legalize recreational marijuana. So what we're doing in the proposed bylaw is to codify that vote. So we have a proposal to amend both the use table and the bylaw. So this would be an addition. The language you see up here would be a new section, section 492. I can read it, or if folks just want to take a look.
Why don't we put it on the record? Okay. I've got it here, if you'd like.
So just for folks to know, marijuana establishments are already defined within our bylaw. So this is a prohibition on something, again, it's already defined term within our regulations or our bylaw.
I don't think that's quite correct, right? Medical marijuana establishments
No,
are.
there's medical marijuana establishments are a separate piece within our existing bylaw. I think when we added the language on the temporary moratorium, we had to define these establishments, so there is a definition for a marijuana
Oh, okay.
establishment. So we don't have to add anything to the definition, it's just a prohibition on something that is already defined within the bylaw.
Right, but we are adding a line item to the table.
We are.
Identified, okay. So I'll just read here what is proposed. To amend section 420 of the zoning bylaw by adding new use category GG marijuana establishments, and to add a new section 492 prohibiting marijuana establishments. And zoning bylaw section 492 is proposed reads, in accordance with Massachusetts General Laws Chapter 94G, Section 3A2, all types of marijuana establishments as defined in Massachusetts General Law Chapter 94G, Section 1, and as may otherwise be defined by Massachusetts law or regulation, to include without limitation all marijuana cultivators, marijuana testing facilities, marijuana product manufacturers, marijuana retailers, on-site consumption of marijuana at a marijuana retailer location, and other types of licensed marijuana-related businesses, and the conducting of any such activity for commercial purposes by whichever name used shall be prohibited within the town of Scituate. This prohibition shall not be construed to affect medical use of marijuana as expressly authorized by the provisions of Chapter 369 of the Acts of 2012 and 105 CMR 725, as the same may be amended from time to time. So that's what's been proposed.
Again, this language would be a new section, and then this is the proposed change to the use table. So it would be a new use, and then it would be disallowed within each of the zoning districts.
Thank you. Any questions or input from the board?
So just EE is the medical marijuana, is that correct?
Yes. That would still be allowed special permit within the commercial district.
And can you clarify the law in the sense of, I know your very first slide was that Scituate voted no, so therefore, if I remember correctly, that the selectmen can actually prohibit without having to go to a town vote? Is that the correct?
So that the path that we've taken forward is now based upon the new ruling, or just whatever just came out recently by town council, that we, in order to codify the ban, you have to do a bylaw. So they're recommending we do both a zoning bylaw and a change to the town's general bylaw.
Okay.
So obviously, under the purview of the planning board would be the change to the zoning bylaw. But both of these items, you know, if moved forward or recommended to town meeting, would be on the floor of the town meeting.
And if I remember correctly, this Chapter 94G has a provision that allows individual towns to vote for a prohibition. Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, so I'm just gonna go on the record saying that I actually, where in my planning had I kind of disagree with the prohibition. I think that this is a nascent industry, and we're in a town that's actively trying to kind of diversify our tax base and increase our tax base, and I think that this is kind of a premature move. We could the planning board and the town could still keep some control by making, kind of like what we did with the brewery, with making a special permit in particular zoning districts. I just can't fathom kind of having an outright ban on all potential marijuana establishments that aren't medical at this juncture. And also, I know the Attorney General's authorized municipalities to levy 3% sales tax on marijuana retail establishments, and as well as, I think there's a 5-year period where we can collect fees as well. So it's kind of, there's a lot of kind of opportunity I see, as long as town retain some control and make sure we address kind of public health or kind of community concerns.
So just the point of, I guess, clarification or logistics, is what Karen was saying, we're really voting tonight on the recommendation for the, like the advisory board of selectmen to say, like, the planning board recommends this zoning change? Because we're not really voting on it per
No,
se.
no.
This is
This has to
just
go
whether we
top.
support it.
Yes.
You have to, under the law, provide a recommendation to town meeting after having a public hearing. So that's, you're having your public hearing, and you will provide a recommendation to town meeting, and that's what's required by the law.
And the first zoning article was sponsored by you guys, by the planning
Oh,
board.
that, yeah, I know.
This is sponsored by
Right.
the Board of Selectmen,
Right.
so there's still a requirement for a, hearing under the zoning bylaw. But again, tonight, in regards to this particular proposal, it's just your recommendation on it.
And regardless of our recommendation, they will go forward with the general, they can go forward with the general bylaw without a planning board recommendation.
Yeah, I don't know what process that follows, if that's Board of Selectmen or how that's
Yeah,
monitored.
the general
I can
bylaw,
still take it to the,
general bylaws don't need a public
Right.
hearing, only a zoning bylaw, yep.
Well, I guess I was thinking of it like, in a sense of when it becomes town meeting, or when it's on the floor of town meeting, there's usually like the advisory council recommends this 100%, or
we'll have
this.
a report.
Yeah, so
We'll
we
issue
can,
a report.
so I guess what I'm saying is we don't have to be unanimous. I guess that's what I'm trying to figure out here, correct?
No, we don't have to approve it, we don't have to accept it. It's just our report on, after
Right,
hearing
okay.
the public hearing,
Okay.
so. Okay,
I have to agree with Ben. We're trying to make some money here, and I think that this is a little, we're trying to let our personalities and our philosophical differences come in the way of trying to do what we're supposed to do, which is to make sure that we have business opportunities for the town. I do think this is a little premature for us to be making this. Came to town meeting, I would tell you that I would vote against this.
Well, and I should say, my opinion is, I have no problem, at least with a licensed recreational, or not medical, a marijuana facility, as long as it's, meets all the state regulations. So I guess I wouldn't be really in favor of voting for this change either, or endorsing this change.
I would like to hear, I think we have a lot of people here who want to have something to say about this, so I'd like to hear that at this point, if we could do that. So I would open this up for public comment and discussion, if anybody would like to make a comment.
I agree with.
Could you identify yourself, please?
Stephen Montero, 9 Jenkins Place. I kind of agree with Patricia and Richard that we should keep our options open. It's the town, from what I see now, you're trying to increase your commercial tax base. Frankly, I think that would be much more profitable to leave this open. Something like this, if it's governed by the state, there's laws governing this, then what's going on in Proper Greenbush right now next to me, which turned into a truck repair place, truck storage. Something like this would generate more income for the town to increase their commercial tax base than what's happening next to me, next to my property. Turn it into a truck storage area. So I think something like this, if it's kept away from children, away from the schools and things like this, it might be a possibility.
Okay. Anybody else? All right.
Well, and I'd maybe make a comment that, for instance, I know we have zoning for medical marijuana, but that doesn't mean that there's an interested facility. I mean, in reality, I would have a hard time believing that someone may want to open up a recreational facility. I could be completely wrong, but it just doesn't seem like we have the base as of yet for both
Well,
population.
I wouldn't necessarily agree with that. I mean, if you're trying to preserve economic capability, then that's exactly what you're expecting, right? And it would be much more likely to have something like that than possibly even a medical marijuana facility.
Yeah,
Because
that's true. It's,
it's sort of retail, it's more like opening a bar, right? It seems to me that's more likely than a registered marijuana dispensary, medical marijuana dispensary. And frankly, if we're trying to preserve the option to bring some revenue into the town, that's kind of what you actually are hoping for as well.
you're right. That would be more likely than a medical facility.
Yeah. And I think there are some, correct me, if maybe you know, Brad, but I think there are some that are beginning to open, even on the south. I thought I heard there was one on the South Shore somewhere.
Are you talking-
When I was in Norwell, we permitted one in the industrial park there, near the car dealership.
Was that medical then?
That was medical.
I was thinking of, like a retail,
Oh, retail.
recreational, commercial.
I think Marshfield allows it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they have a special permit within a certain district. Again, yeah, I mean, there are. Generally, certain towns, we go, I don't have the numbers for all this,
Yeah.
but you can tell just by the shading kind of who supported and who didn't. But there's, there are green towns which are more in support somewhere in South Shore.
And do you remember, Karen, do we have our moratorium in place?
Our moratorium is in place until November 30th.
November 30th.
Yeah.
Any other questions, comments? I think as I look at it, I'm not inclined to support a full-out ban at this point in time. I would like to understand the sort of the economic viability of it as an initial step. It seems to me we have at least until we could address this again in the fall. We won't be able to address it after that, apparently, because the moratorium will run out. And I don't know that, can we extend the moratorium? Do you know? Or are we limited?
I'm not sure if we can extend it.
I want to say that we get copied on the other planning boards, surrounding towns planning boards, mailings for zoning changes, and I want to say that Marshfield or another town had multiple things in for recreational marijuana, but one is to extend the temporary moratorium. So we can ask town council if that is an option or not.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to know that. I guess not having too much background on kind of what additional revenue we might expect and what sort of the impacts might be, it's pretty hard to just sort of put a hard ban in place. And I was fully comfortable with the moratorium and putting that in place while we got regulations in place, which I think we have now, right? The state has regulations now.
I think it's still in
I
the
still think
process.
they're full, I don't
Yeah.
think they're out yet. That's
Right.
part of the problem.
Okay.
I mean, the regulations aren't.
So this might be a little premature even in that regard,
I
right?
thought they were towards the end of the comment period on those, so
Do you know, was there any sort of additional sort of level of analysis done on, as this was put together as a proposal, on the impacts one way or the other?
No, again, my understanding was when we took it based off the
Just off the
ballot.
vote?
But again, I'm kind of carrying the water tonight for the selectmen,
Right.
and so they may certainly have more information or more statistics behind it.
And do you have any background on the catalyst for this? I mean, I know it's sponsored by the selectmen, but was there I didn't see that particular selectmen's meeting. Was there a reason why they wanted to do this, or what was the thought process, I guess? Just that they wanted to get this in place, or was there some factor that they were worried about?
Again, I think with the temporary moratoria expiring in the fall, this was an opportunity to
to get it on
Yeah,
the April
codify
meeting.
this.
Okay.
But we don't know if we can extend that either.
Yeah, that's something I can require.
Yeah. I think the reason we put it in place was to get the regulations in place and then to have enough time to sort of assess the potential impacts, both economically and potentially socially on the town. And I, for one, don't think I have enough information on that to sort of support a permanent ban. I would continue to support the moratorium at this point till we get maybe more answers to that. But that's kind of where I'm falling out.
Well, it sounds like none of us really want to endorse this particular or support this proposal. So I think we could just vote on it saying the planning board currently does not support the amended zoning bylaw. Right?
Yeah, I think that's where we're headed. We need to vote on both of these, though. Right? And I think we should have a motion to address both warrant articles at this point.
Do you want to take them one by one?
No, I think we should do it all together.
Well, don't we have to close the public hearing?
You can close the public hearing and vote on your reports, but I'm going to have to redo the report on the prohibition of marijuana establishments. You can close the public hearing and vote the reports at the next meeting. It's whatever you want to do.
Because we'd like to have a write-up on the marijuana. I'd like to have a motion that addresses not just that we're not in support of it, but we think certain things should happen, right? And that can be part of our report.
Yeah, or you can continue the public hearing to next time, and for us to do some research. It's whatever you think is going to be most...
What's our deadline on getting a report out?
Probably, I think the planning board meets with the selectmen on their budget and everything on March 6th, and so they may ask how we voted on the zoning articles. Sometime, the warrant goes to print sometime, and the advisory committee makes their final vote somewhere around March 15th.
So realistically, we have to make a final vote on the report on the March 8th meeting?
Yes.
Then? Okay.
Yeah.
And what do we have on the agenda for that meeting?
We have Toll Brothers at 7 o'clock, so
Okay.
we could continue the public hearing, or we could just put the voting on the reports at 9 o'clock.
Do you think, Brad, that there will be more information from the Board of Selectmen on do you think they've evaluated some of these issues at all, or is there more information that we should take in?
Yeah, I could certainly, ask Jim if he wanted to attend the town administrator and see if there's a rep from the Board of Selectmen that would like to attend and maybe shine some light or daylight on some of the questions that you folks have.
So maybe we should leave the hearing open and allow for
That seems
that.
reasonable.
And then we'll make a decision at the next meeting. How about that?
Do you want to, can you close it for the other one, or would we leave it open for both items?
We could close, no. It's a single public hearing. isn't
It's a
it?
single public hearing, so, you're best probably to leave it open
Yeah, let's just leave it
for
open.
both.
I think, I'm speaking for the sense of the board, but my sense is the board's fully in support of
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's just the permanent ban on the marijuana establishments. It would be good to know if there's some background data or information or whatever that sort of drove the decision on the Board of Selectmen's side. Perhaps we could also get the answer on the extension of the moratorium as well.
Okay.
So why don't we, can we get a motion to continue?
I move to continue the public hearing for extend the Village Business Overlay District on Section 320 of the Town of Scituate zoning bylaw and to extend the public hearing for the prohibition on marijuana establishments. I need to be more specific. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Close enough. Do we have a second?
Oh, wait a minute, you have to say, you have to extend it to a time and
Oh,
date certain.
I'm sorry, to extend it to March 8th at 9 PM, is that correct?
Yeah.
Is there a way to do not 9 PM?
What?
Do you need 2 hours for Toll Brothers?
Could we
Well, we could,
do this first and push Toll Brothers by?
we've already continued Toll Brothers to a time and date certain of 7 o'clock.
Okay.
So if you want to cut Toll Brothers to 8:30, give them an hour and a half.
Is there a way to do this at 6:30? Start early?
It's tough to get here by then.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about having Jim and selecting here at 10 o'clock is not ideal. We can avoid it.
What does everybody's schedule look like that day? Any idea?
I think I'm okay. I'm back from London, so.
Okay. Let's see what mine looks like.
I should be good for earlier.
Yeah, I'm okay.
I'll have to rearrange some things, but let's try to do it so we can get this done. right?
So you want to do 6:30?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, to March 8th at 6:30 PM.
We have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for your help tonight. Okay. That's my agenda. How we doing? Time?
Perfect, almost.
Okay, we have, next up on the agenda, the public hearing for accessory dwelling special permit for 7 Elm Park.
I remember this.
Brendan Sullivan with Kevin Hart Consulting. Here representing the owner, Mike Reynolds, for 7 Elm Park, which is off of Greenfield Street. Mr. Reynolds purchased a portion of the property back in about 2015. Got a house on it, with a new dwelling on it. Purchased a vacant piece of property.
Excuse me, can I just ask you, I think the camera can't pick that up, so you need to either be, I think that's a good place for the drawing, it's just you're standing in the way of it.
Sorry.
Well, we can't see it at that point, so where you go is fine, you just need to move a little.
Okay.
Stand a little closer to probably where Karen's desk is.
That's all right.
And that,
I'll stand over here. How's that?
If the board could just not touch the microphones with the, yeah, that's okay. It'll sound bad.
thank you.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
So as I was saying, Mr. Reynolds purchased a vacant piece of property adjacent to that lot. The original lot was about 71,000 square feet. The new purchase lot is about 76,000 square feet, for a total of just over 3.5 acres total. The land he purchased is basically an open field at this point. It was used for farmland years ago. Originally, one owner had owned most of this land, including all the way down to Cedar Hill Lane back in the 40s and 50s. Mr. Reynolds' parents live in town. They bounced around between Doctors Hill and another rental property. They're looking for one level living space. So Michael came up with the proposal for the accessory dwelling at 7 Elm Park. It is it's a 1 bedroom per Title V. It's a 2 bedroom. There's a den It's all one-level living space. We are almost maxed out at the 40% living space from the existing dwelling. Existing dwelling is about 4,000 square feet. The accessory dwelling is just over 1,600 square feet. Get a two-car garage. We have a plan into Board of Health for a septic system. We've had some preliminary comments, I've sent a revised plan back to them as well for further review. It is a three-bedroom system. We did perks out in the lot. We did 4 holes and 3 perks down in the area where the septic system is and over the footprint of the existing dwelling. I used some other perks that were done by the previous owners up in this area. They got perk rates in the 50-minute range. I got perk rates between 3 and 3 minutes an inch, and they vary between 16 and 18 minutes per inch or thereabouts.
For the uneducated, what does that mean?
That means that the, so when you...
Is that good, bad, or indifferent?
That's good. So
Okay.
like a 3-minute perk rate is decent. A 50-minute rate is slow. You can go up for new construction, you can go up to 60 minutes an inch, which is very slow. So it's you basically you're pouring, you dig a 12-inch hole, 12-inch triangular hole by 18 inches
No,
deep.
I get that, I'm just trying to understand the numbers.
Sure. So the soils are varying out there. Water table is high. It's down about between 24 and 30 inches across all 3 properties. I designed the septic system for Mr. Reynolds' house. I also designed the original house for 7 Elm Park. I did a system repair there, because the repair was done over in this area here. That water table was down around maybe 36 to 40 inches. But the soil is, in some parts, it's better than others. It's varying across the site. We're proposing a gravel driveway, no impervious other than the structure itself, and all the roof runoff from the house is going to get infiltrated in the system in the front yard, and will be picked up by, there's a system in place with the existing house and some swales that direct the water down towards Elm Park, as it does today. We do have a swale at the down. All this kind of slopes from the west to the south, down very slight slope down towards Elm Park. I have a swale proposed at the down slope side of the raised driveway to pick up this runoff, so nothing's going on to this adjacent property here. It's going to get picked up by these other drainage swales and get the water down to Elm Park in Greenfield.
Question for you on this lot. This is a single lot now, as opposed to 2 separate lots?
Yes, yeah, it's the same ownership, so the lots have been combined.
Have you done the 81X plan?
I have not done the 81X plan, no, I have not. I've done some initial survey. I did some initial survey out to Cedar Hill. The monuments really aren't cooperating with me between the existing lot and the monuments out in Cedar Hill. They're off by as many as 2 to 3 feet. So I can do some additional survey out in Cedar Hill Lane to nail down the roadway layout, make sure everything's
To do an
buttoned up.
accessory dwelling here, we need to make sure that it is a single lot, right?
Yes.
So when you say the 81X plan, is that...
I had raised this issue with Mr. Sullivan before, and he said he would do an 81X plan, which would just combine the 2 lots to make it one.
And
I
that's
guess we're
what's
going to need that and then make a decision here, right? Because otherwise, we've got 2 lots and we're permitting, if we permit it, we would be permitting essentially a dwelling on a separate lot.
Whenever you have an existing lot and you are combining it with a non-conforming lot, the lots do combine as per Mass General Law. You really don't need, I know planning board towns like to see a plan that combines lots. You really don't need them. I mean, we do them in essence to satisfy the planning board, but in essence, when you have a lot and you buy a non-conforming lot under the same deed, that those lots are now combined.
I recommended
Does our
that,
general counsel buy into that?
I recommend, we didn't ask town council, but I recommended that they do the 81X plan because this is, the original lot is a 50-foot frontage lot
Mhm.
that was approved through the ZBA, so just to guarantee, and that's where the frontage and access is off of Elm Park. So just to guarantee that it would be one lot, I recommended it.
Okay. Right.
Where-
Um,
Where was I mean, this plan doesn't show where the other lot was, does it?
no, it just shows one big
It
lot.
just shows the big,
You have a deed,
oh, it is?
you have a deed in your packet, and
Good luck
there's
interpreting that.
there's a plan that's associated with the
Basically, the
deed.
line came right across, came right straight back here.
Okay,
So it's a long, narrow lot.
all right.
So the lots, actually, he purchased two lots. Lots from the original subdivision plan was Lot 1 and Lot 3.
So there's 50-foot frontage on Cedar Hill Road?
No,
Certainly.
No,
that's
that was 30 feet.
30 feet.
So these are the, he purchased Lot 1, he purchased Lot 1 and Lot 3.
Okay.
And he owns, 50 feet from here and then back, and it comes out. Backs up to this is the golf course property.
What does
Sorry
it
to
say?
stop you there, I just wanted to know.
What does it say Highland Street? Where am I looking at this?
Highland Street, that's Greenfield Street, used to be Highland Street.
Oh, okay. That was confusing me.
Yeah. There's been also been brought to our attention about a septic easement for this property down in here. Once again, it was from this original subdivision plan. Called that was Lot 4.
Where's the easement?
Well, it's very vague. I'll read you the original easement that was conveyed in 1954. Expressly reserving the right unto the grantor herein and subject to an easement for the benefit of Lot 4, as shown in said plan, for the purpose of installing, maintaining, and repairing a leaching bed for the premises and dwelling house located situated on said Lot 4. The grantor is the present owner of said Lot 4. Now, a couple of things with this is
I'm
that,
confused. That was a grant from somebody who owned Lot 1?
yes,
A grant of an easement
right,
on
so
Lot 1?
the white people own all of this property, all of these lots.
Mhm.
And they conveyed out Lot 1 and 3 from this deed. And so they lived in Lot 4, and they said, well, we want to, this was back in 64. Back in 64, they had the hindsight to set aside some room for an additional septic system. My initial thought was...
This Lot 1?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's just Lot 1, not Lot 3. So it's what we call a blanket easement. It blankets the entire property. I initially thought it was for an access, but we haven't gotten a title attorney to look at it just yet. So we have to get that squared away as well. A couple things. The easement is not in the current deed this is number 27 Cedar Hill.
Lot 4 is now number 27?
Number 27 Cedar Hill, yep. As I said, the easement only shows up in this deed, in the subsequent deeds. As it reads, expressly reserving unto the grantor herein. Now, expressly reserving usually means that it's only for the grantor, only for the Whites, Elaine Knapp White, who originally sold it. So there's a couple things with that. Number one is there's no dimensions for it. Number two is I see that expressly reserving. Once again, I have an attorney look at this. And the other thing is that it's not mentioned at all in the deed for 27 Cedar Hill. So there's a few things going on with it. The applicant is willing to grant some area adjacent to Lot 4 to install a septic system. The system on 27 Cedar Hill was repaired in 1997, which is under the new, if you want to call them the upgraded Title V, which goes by additional perk tests required, modeling, Title V inspections. That was the major overhaul in Title V back in 97. And the new system, they got a sieve analysis in the backyard and the front yard. They constructed the system in the front yard. It's a pressure pump system.
So currently, there's no septic in the backyard?
No,
No.
it's been, as far as I know, should have been abandoned. I think the old plan showed a couple pits, leaching pits back there.
This is really sort of steeped in real estate law then at this point.
Yeah.
I don't think we're equipped to make that decision one way or the other. I think we're going to need some,
Right. So
probably
that's,
some
I just wanted to
feedback from both parties, I would imagine here.
bring that to your attention anyway.
Okay.
As I see, you do have the architectural renderings of the proposed dwelling
Yep.
and the floor plans, and I have those here as well.
And this on town water,
Yes, it will be.
separate meter to the accessory dwelling?
I'm not sure, where's your meter now, Mike? Is it in the house?
It's down by the street.
Okay.
So they'll probably do a separate meter with this
We do a separate meter.
And is there a, this is the house, is this the accessory dwelling?
Yes.
That's the proposed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. How does this compare to what it's next to?
As far as the square footage?
No, architectural. What does the other house look like? Do we have a picture of it, or is this sort of consistent?
I would say it's consistent with what, it's the same architect. John.
Same architect, will have the same siding, the same cedar roof. It's going to be almost a identical match as far as materials go. It's just going to have a different roof pitch and roof lines, and obviously be a lot smaller.
The other house is that it's a 5-bedroom, 3-car garage.
Yeah, no, part of what we look at is whether the accessory dwelling is sort of consistent with the rest of the architecture of the main house.
Sure.
And whether it's clearly
Subordinate.
subordinate to the main house as well as an accessory dwelling.
Yes, I can certainly say it is, but we can certainly get you architectural renderings for the existing house, or pictures rather.
Pictures would be good. I mean, if it's there, pictures would probably be good, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And do they share, maybe I should have just looked at the drawings, do they share a driveway?
They're going to share a driveway, yeah,
Okay.
up to a certain point, and then it'll peel off and go up to the accessory dwelling.
Okay.
I have just a question for the calculations on the accessory dwelling. There's the screened-in porch, that's not included in the calculations, is that correct?
Right, that's not included. Nor is the garage.
Oh, I think the porch needs to be included in there.
Because the porch is covered in this case, it's not like a deck.
I believe the porch needs to be included in there, in the calculation for the gross square
I can double
footage.
check with my architect, but he assured me that the screened-in porch was not part of, if you went to go.
Because it has a roof over it. That's why I think it needs to be.
It's not a heated space, so we can include porches.
I thought that's what I read. I'll double check.
Yeah, it's not a 3-season room, it's just an open porch.
You'll check on that, Karen?
Yeah.
Okay. And you said it's got a 2-car garage, right?
Yes.
Okay. so it's got enough parking. And although the septic system is being designed as a 3-bedroom system, it's going to be a single bedroom.
Yes.
1-bedroom
There is a
residence.
There is a den/office that under Title V qualifies as a bedroom, being more than 70 square feet, and
Yeah.
needing space with a window and a door. I designed for the Title V minimum 3-bedroom, so it wouldn't require a deed restriction.
The other thing,
But there's no intent of making additional bedrooms in
No,
this
not,
accessory dwelling.
not at this point, there was not, no. Or any additional living
Yeah, That
space.
would probably be a condition of any permit.
Sure.
Okay.
I just add that the garage has a roof over it as well, and that's not considered.
Could you just identify yourself? so
I'm
we-
potentially going to be the builder of this house, and I'm the owner as well. Mike
He
Reynolds.
owned that, Mike
Okay.
Reynolds. Sorry.
Thank you. I'm sorry, we tried to get it on the.
But I was just
camera.
saying, the garage has a roof over it as well, and I know that's not counted as square footage.
Now, normally, the accessory dwelling gets built over a garage, those kinds of things, as opposed to.
Or added on to a house or
Right.
something.
Right.
We have had a few of these that are freestanding, though.
Yeah, I don't know if we've had a freestanding sort of house. We've had freestanding
There was,
garages.
there was
with-
one on Ingrid Lane, right, Karen? If I remember right, no?
I think that was over a garage, wasn't it?
That one never got,
Oh, it never, okay.
Right.
That's what I'm thinking of. And I know that there was a similar condition for Moreland that we felt was not subservient, but not
Subordinate.
subordinate, thank
Yeah.
you.
Well, that's why I'd like to, we did one on Hadley that had a sort of a carriage house behind it that had an accessory dwelling built, if you remember.
Yes.
That was pretty good size,
Mhm.
but the house was a good size too, so it sort of blended in there. And that's why I'd like to see kind of how this fits on the lot with the primary residence.
I mean, I have pictures on my phone if you'd like to see it.
Well, I think it's something we would need to see, so I'd like to make sure everybody got it, and it would have to be part of the public record too, so. If you can send them to Karen, she can distribute them. Questions? Board?
Just to go off Richard's question about the gross square footage calculation, I also have a kind of question about the proposed attic space that has the dormer coming off of it. Just whether that is supposed to be included in the calculation or not, or what the kind of intent is for that space.
It's simply just that storage, it'll be unfinished storage space. The dormers are just there to, break up the roof line, and what is for additional storage. A lot of the space on the second floor is like open ceilings from down below, so it's not, it's not the total attic area, it isn't the entire second floor. And the intent, and if you want to put a, deed restriction on the gross square footage of it or something, we could, we'd be happy, we'd be amenable to that.
Yeah, just because it's so close to the threshold, and it's particularly large for a
Sure.
accessory dwelling, so that makes me a little nervous.
Yeah.
It's a nice look to it. Again, it would be good to sort of compare it to the primary residence.
Right, yeah, no, I didn't think of bringing the extra, the other rendering for the existing house.
Anything else, Ben?
No.
Richard?
I mean, it's a beautiful, small home, there's no question about it, very nice architectural design. It's just that I think we've struggled with this in the past, where you have a very large primary house, and then the accessory dwelling ends up being a small, house, single-family house, basically. And so then our challenge is it subordinate? And I know we've had several issues. The one that comes to mind is at Moreland, where it was a big house, and the
Small lot.
and the accessory dwelling was almost, I should say almost as large, but it looked visually very large, and that was one we denied, because we just
Right.
felt that wasn't subordinate in that particular case.
That was also more than one story.
Yes, it
That was
was.
more than one
It
story.
was.
2.5 stories.
Yeah.
It was on a smaller lot,
Right.
in a fairly
Tight
small,
neighborhood.
tight
This-
neighborhood.
This is definitely.
It's a bigger lot, which is what
And-
happened to have it.
And Elm Park, if you've been up there, off of, it's like, you're way back. You don't even see the main house, I don't think, right, from the street?
I mean, you can, I mean, you gotta look for it, because it is a 50-foot lot.
Yeah.
It's just when we get hidden by some of the trees that are there between this lot and the back of the Fagan property.
Because, is it Greenfield or Elm Park has the arc?
Elm Park is the dirt road arc.
Is the dirt road arc,
Yeah.
and then Greenfield's the one in front of it, correct?
Yeah.
So like, you have to get to the arc, and then this is back.
Right.
So we're really far back there,
Yep.
I guess is my point, so.
Yeah.
And
No, I think it-
it's a fairly large
may have
lot, it's,
something
you know,
going for it.
3.5 acres, 146,000 square feet in a 20,000 square foot zoning.
Yeah.
So, density-wise, there'd be 6 houses there, so.
And do we have a affidavit on this one?
Yes, we have an affidavit. The applicant proposes to live in the primary dwelling.
Okay.
My only concern would be is that you would put a deed restriction on it. I would prefer that this would be subdivided at some point.
The lot subdivided or the house?
The house, so that.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, it would be
Yeah.
so easy, like the attic. It looks like that even though it's unfinished, it'd be super easy to finish it and have a den up there or a playroom or a family room.
Right. No, it spurs parents to try to stay in town, obviously, so.
Yeah, it's funny, they've moved from condo to condo that all had second floor living. They want a place that's just one floor living.
Oh, yeah,
You can't buy that in Scituate.
I totally get it, yeah. I'd like to have that.
There are a few places. Well, if we don't have any questions from board, let's see if we have comments from public. Yes, sir.
So I live at 20...
Identify yourself.
Sure, yeah. My name's Mike Nisbet. I live at 27 Cedar Hill.
So you're lot 4?
I'm on this.
Okay.
Yeah. So I have a question for the board. Are you looking to make a decision on approving the building of this lot tonight? Is that what we're doing?
Well, it depends on what else we might need to know before we make that decision.
I'm just going to...
It sounds to me like we need to get the deed cleared up.
Yeah, so on their deed, which is the lot that was purchased.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you have a copy for Karen?
I do.
Oh, this is the zoning law. Yes, we have.
That's the, what's the word?
Definitions.
Right.
Okay, yeah, and I have another one.
We don't really need copies of the zoning bylaw. We have those.
Well, okay. That's why, well, I just wanted to make it abundantly clear of the actual wording as far as accessory use. The way it was originally set up, if we're going to talk about the original owner and intent, was to use it for an accessory use. And it's very clear in the septic system, accessory use, how that kind of works out. You can use a lot for an accessory use, and this is my interpretation. You can use a lot for an accessory use, but it precludes any building on that lot when you use it for a septic system. It was set up with no restrictions or boundaries. I don't think that was sloppy deed work. I think that was completely, we can only assume that it was purposely intended. As to the comment this gentleman made about the intent of, usage was like a one-time usage for the whites who own that. That says that nowhere in any type of bylaw. That was a concern of mine as well, but there's nothing as far as precedence in that I could find. I don't know if there's something that could be presented. But
I think that was really a discussion about what the deed provides the holder of the deed. Right?
Correct.
And we don't have any control over that.
Correct.
So if there's a difference in what the interpretation of this deed, I think we need to get that sort of sorted out.
Yeah, it's on the deed.
Is it on your deed?
It's on the copies of the deed that I got from the town.
No, I mean the deed for your lot. Does your lot, I think, I'm sorry, I forgot your name already.
Brendan Sullivan, Mr. Sullivan.
Mr. Sullivan has represented that it's not recorded on your deed.
Yeah, I don't know why
the case?
that's the case. If that is the case, I don't know for certain. I actually have copies from when we closed.
That is basically back to 1964, the original subdivision of the property. It's not on any of the deeds.
That's neither here nor there. It's on their deed.
Right,
That's.
but it's not on your deed. That's an accurate statement. I'm just
I
trying to get the facts.
have no evidence of that. So, but again, it's on their deed. So I mean, I don't know why that wouldn't have any relevance in the matter. It's on their deed. The deed restriction is there. And just to kind of cover the septic as far as the accessory use. It says, notwithstanding the requirement of bylaw section 200, which is the definition that you have in front of you, that an accessory use shall be located on the same lot where the principal use is located. A soil absorption system for the septic system may be located on a parcel separate from the residential lot that is to serve. Again, original owners, they set it up as an accessory use. Okay? Provided that no dwelling shall be located on that separate parcel. Such a separate septic system parcel shall not be subject to dimensional requirements. Again, that's why it wasn't actually written into the deed as far as boundaries and restrictions. I lost my spot. Requirements by law of section 610, lot size requirements, regulations, or dwellings, but shall not be considered a buildable building lot for any purpose other than for the sitting of a septic system. It's pretty clear. I don't think there's anything.
So, just so I understand what you're saying is that because of what used to be, what was it, Lot 1?
Lot 1.
Right, has an overall deed restriction on the septic, or there's a...
Easement.
Easement, I'm sorry. Easement on the septic.
To the benefit of Lot 4?
Yeah, your conclusion, or you're saying that they don't have the right to build a structure?
Correct. I can access that lot to put a septic system in when I need to. And I don't have any boundaries or restrictions. I mean, it's deeded.
Well,
So I
that's-
think what we have is a difference of opinion.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's
We
not
have
our...
we have an easement on the deed to Lot 1 that runs to the benefit of Lot 4, but you say it only runs to the benefit of the original owner of Lot 4. We're not going to be able to sort that out ourselves. Right?
So I'll give my attorney opinion, and I recommend that
Well, I mean,
Mr. Nesbitt
here's the thing on that.
his attorney
Here's the thing
opinion.
on that.
Because we can talk here about lawyers and deeds and easements all day, but nobody here is a title attorney.
Exactly.
And
So we're not going to sort that out here.
No, so,
I think you guys will need to sort that out. And to the extent that there appears to be a conflict about whether building this accessory dwelling will have an impact on that easement right, you need to get that sorted out, because I don't think we don't want to be in the middle of that.
if we need to do perk tests and get a system for Mr. Nesbitt, we can certainly do that to satisfy the easement requirement.
I think, and then in addition, if there are, making sure that the square footages are in adherence with the bylaw, because I think there was some question about the porch.
I have that back in the office. I asked the architect for a breakdown, room by room, of the square footages, and I do have that.
Oh,
back in the
okay,
office.
okay. So
Right now, it's 39.95% of the square, of the,
So really
Right at
close.
the limit.
so it's at the limit.
Okay. And then, I guess the final thing I think that we're looking for is just the fact, or sort of a proving that it's subordinate by maybe some pictures, or even showing, if there was an elevation, for instance, of
I would like
both.
to see it in
Context.
reference to the primary dwelling. So
Yeah.
I don't know how you do that, whether you could superimpose on a picture or whatever, but
Yeah, we could do that.
to scale so that we can really see
Yep.
how this looks on the lot.
Right, well, I was even thinking that if you look at the documents that you gave us, like, even something like this, if you just penciled in, like, what the other structure is in the background, like how high it is, or,
Oh, certainly.
you don't think that would help? In addition to the pictures?
Yeah, I think we need the pictures, because that's a
Yeah, 'cause you
two-dimensional.
want to see this, you want to see the style of the house.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I want to see the orientation and
Yeah.
just how close it looks, so. And I think, let me just see if we had anything else.
There was the 81X, the joining.
The 81X, yeah. Which I think we would like to see as well. And then was there discussion about, did you have a chance to look at the stormwater system? Or-
They're proposing an infiltration system, and Mr. Sullivan provided me today with a detail to show that the infiltration chamber will be 2 feet above the seasonal high groundwater.
Okay. The proposed septic system, will it maintain the required offset from seasonal ground high water?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
High water, whatever
Yes.
you call it, which is
4
3
feet.
feet, 4 feet?
4 feet.
4 feet. So will you end up with something that is mounded?
Yes.
You
It
will.
won't look like it's mounted, because the first floor of the house is going to be raised, a little less above grade.
Okay.
So it's
Can we see that, can we see where that is is there a drawing that shows that?
on
Just-
my site plan.
This plan?
Yeah, I mean, you can tell that, so
Right here.
yeah.
right, it's going to be into the driveway.
So it's up by 4 feet
Yes, approximately.
approximately.
That existing grade is,
And so how does that look relative to your, I'm looking at your three-dimensional picture there. Does that represent the height, or is that just
not so much, that's not too like
kind of thrown on a piece of grass?
yes, exactly. It's going to be raised up about, probably about 4 feet.
So the whole thing is coming up
Yes,
by 4 feet. The whole sort of ground is coming up by 4 feet,
Right.
all the way around the property.
that's to ensure that we wanted to try and maintain a gravity septic system and a basement as well.
Basement's above the ground line.
Right.
Okay.
Groundwater kind of drives it.
All right. And then the stormwater is then maintained,
Yep, you have that in the.
infiltration basin here,
Fill area in the front yard.
that's off the roof leaders?
Yes.
Okay.
And then
And then this is draining out?
this is going to drain off into this swale here, and there's going to be two swales from the existing one coming down. There's more or less like a berm here now, but in the spring, to finish up the landscaping for this one, we missed the growing season by a couple of weeks. So we're going to install these swales running down the side of the driveway. This swale is going to get picked up with that one.
And where do the swales go?
They go all the way down to the Elm Park.
So are we dumping more water onto the roadway than we had before?
No, because there's two infiltration systems for this whole house, and that was based on a driveway apron, a pool patio that hasn't been built yet, a cabana that hasn't been built, a patio that would turn into a wood deck in the back, so there's less impervious there that's going to be proposed than what was originally designed. And also,
Where's this land draining out to go this way?
oh no, it's all going this way.
So it is already going
Yes.
down the driveway here, okay.
Yep.
The existing site is subject to a stormwater permit through the Conservation Commission,
Okay.
because they had to file,
And they've looked at it?
yes, they've looked at it.
So they're comfortable?
they're waiting for the swale to be constructed in the springtime as well, before they,
Oh, for the original house.
for the original house, it was subject, and it went
Have they
through.
looked at this proposed for the second house, or for the accessory
They haven't
dwelling?
given us any comments on the accessory dwelling.
Okay.
We're under the thresholds for the, we're just over 14,000 square feet of disturbance.
Okay.
15,000 is the trigger for it, so we're under the threshold for stormwater. But we feel we're maintaining it, and no one says wrong, it's going to
Yeah,
affect the
just
adjacent
don't
properties.
dump any water off the roadway, with the water going there. Okay. So we have a list of sort of action items that include the square footage calculations, the 81X plan, the sort of architectural view in comparison to the primary dwelling, and then somehow you have to get the closure on the easement issue. Did I capture everything?
I think so.
Anything else, Karen?
No, that's pretty much it.
Okay.
I do have some
Yes.
slides too, if you get that, when you.
Oh, no, please,
Okay.
we're
Okay.
at that stage, so.
Okay, sure. My name is Mary Fagan. I'm the Fagan residence, and I live at 3 Elm Park.
3 Elm Park,
Yeah.
so where's that?
Right in front.
Sorry, I don't have my addresses down pat here.
That's just this property here.
Okay.
I'm the property next to the property that the Reynolds have built, and I'm also sitting, if you're looking at Elm Park, I'm sorry, I'm probably in the way. I'm looking at, if you're looking at the property, I'm going to be in front of this property.
Right, the
It's
accessory dwelling will be in your, sort of your backyard, so to
Exactly.
speak. Not in your yard, literally.
No, not in my yard, but in adjoining
Behind.
property. Exactly,
Mhm.
exactly. So just a couple of comments I'd like to make.
Okay.
The Conservation Department, Mr. Galvin has been in touch with us. I'm glad that Mr. Sullivan mentioned the swales. The swales have not gotten in yet, and I've been on the understanding that they are going to be going in April, when the property will allow for it. Back in April of 2017, we had 2 significant storms while the property, Mr. Reynolds' current property was being worked on. And I was in touch with the town at that time because we had extreme runoff from the construction property onto my property, which took my septic system out for 3 days. And it came across both the current property that and there was construction pieces in place, and I understand that it's a temporary situation during construction, but the water ran from,
This was for the new house that was built.
this new house being built, but the property, the water from the storm, from 2 storms, April 1st, April 6th, ran off of the current 7 Elm Park as well as the back property. And because I was told that it was during construction, I remained concerned about it, obviously. I had to leave my house for 3 days while this was happening. I have some great concerns about the property behind me being very, very wet. I've been in that property from the previous owner that apparently sold to the Reynolds, and I've sat with them, and they've told me that there's some swales already considered back in that property. I was also in that property with the previous owner to that, Phoebe, who, in standing in that property in March, when I stood in 2 inches of mud, just sitting on the property. Currently, and since the beginning of January, there is water running off the property, down partially across my property, what appears to be a stream coming from the landscaping that hasn't been finished, I understand, and it's running into the road and down through the road, and some of it's going into the catch basin, which is sitting toward the section that's Elm Park and Greenfield. So I have some great concerns about the property. I know that my understanding this evening that there's some swales are going in, but there's a whole new piece of property now being put into place, and I'm concerned about overflow and all of that.
I think it's a legitimate concern, and I will tell you what we've told other developers is just because you're doing construction, we're not giving anybody a permit
Oh, no, we
to
have,
flood water onto anybody else's property.
we
So you have to
understand that.
manage it during construction.
and I'm going to revise the plan to show the infiltration system on there, the size of it. I just gave Karen a smaller version of it today. I'm also going to add on there'll be a siltation fence around the entire property, especially we'll probably double up on the downslope side to ensure that no runoff will occur onto your property. And I'll probably add the same swale detail I added for the detail for the original property to show that, make sure that swale is installed on the backside of your property.
The original, if you can correct me if I'm wrong, this is my understanding from Mr. Galvin of Conservation. When the property was originally being worked on and the swales were recommended for both sides of the property.
Yep.
And at a point in the fall of last year, when I saw that the driveway was in some format, a gravel driveway, and the lawn had been seeded, I saw a berm in place.
Yes.
There was no swales in place at that time.
Right.
So, right now, the berm that's sitting in place that's running against my property seems to be keeping some surface water off of my property up to a certain point.
Okay.
Then it stops and then it floods the property.
Okay.
And it's going into the road, and honestly, it's been consistent since early January, and it's just putting grooves in, it's an unpaved road, grooves in the unpaved road and running down the road. I've been here 6 years, I've never seen water running off into the road, at any point, like it is now. We have a lot less snow coming this year, we maybe have more some rain, so I have some great concerns about property runoff. As I said, in April when the construction was happening and I was out of the property for 2 to 3 days, I think it was 3 days, and then my system went in alarm again on April 6th for about 12 or more hours. There clearly was some water issues going on from the property. So my house is 1925. It's been there for a long time. I think I deserve as much consideration on water runoff that does 7 L Park and all the 7 L Park, and all the properties along that area.
You would, just as a general comment, you wouldn't get any argument from us, right? We
I understand
believe
that.
that should be the case. I don't know, I can't really speak to the original construction because that wasn't a project that came to us. Because this is accessory dwelling, it's coming to the planning board.
Yeah.
But it would be our expectation and intention that any construction that's going on here, that there's management of the stormwater from the day ground is broken until the occupancy permit is issued and thereafter.
I'm happy, just for your record, I can send the correspondence I've had with Conservation about the storm that happened in April and the property, when water, just to understand the amount of water. It was a storm, obviously. I've stood in the property, the adjacent property to me that's being talked about this evening. There clearly does appear to it's current, obviously it's going to be changed when the building is done, but I can stand in my property and it does rise up to that property, but there's sections of that property I don't see, so clearly it has some divots and topography on that property, and all
I'm a
of
little
that could be
confused
changed.
about what property you're talking about. That doesn't appear to be the property that's being discussed here, where you're pointing to, so I'm make sure
Well, that was my question. I wanted to make sure that when you say the property,
which property you're
Yeah.
talking about. The outline of that property is the property we're talking about, right? So anything on the lower right quadrant there is not part of your property, is that correct?
No, this is the Dolphins property here.
Right, that's what you were pointing to?
Sorry, no, I meant my property and the property that's now adjacent to
So
7 Park.
where the accessory dwelling is shown right now is the area you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
all right, yeah, that was my clarification too.
Yeah.
So just on clarifying that, when you were mentioning that you were standing in mud,
Yeah.
Was that mud where the
It was
proposed,
March, April time. It was, based on what I can see here, it was an area through here. I mean,
Okay.
it wasn't a deep part of the property.
okay,
I wasn't just speaking to the owners here. At one time, they had their dogs out here, and I had walked beyond my property. They invited me over to their property, we talked, and it was in this whole area here.
okay.
When you indicated that there's high water there's high water there.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out if anything's, I mean, if nothing happens here, if the accessory dwelling doesn't get built, I think what I hear you're telling me, and you have to correct me if I'm wrong here, is that the construction of the current residence has changed the grade such that the runoff's different than it used to be before it was built.
The runoff that is now going down Elm Park is, in my estimation, is different than what it was prior to construction.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That's what I was trying to understand.
And I'm not talking about during a storm, which I can understand maybe there's some more. Right now, and I'll send a video that I took in January of water, a small stream running off that property now, and at the end here running onto my property and down to Elm Park. So there's water rushing. It's not, currently it's not a river, but it's a small stream that's running through there off onto the road. And there is and you can correct me, there's a catch basin in front of my property, just to the right of my property, between my property and the Dolco's property. And there's also one in the park. The water that's coming off currently is running down, and some of it does get to that catch basin down here. I'm not aware of what's coming over here, but it's definitely water rushing.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
So, I mean, to summarize a little bit of that, so as I said, he got occupancy last summer, and the landscaping really didn't finish up until, like I said, the October, November, and we missed the hydro seed and the growing season by just a couple weeks. So there is a lot of bare ground out there right now. There's no landscaping on the site per se. That's why the landscapers, when they loamed the seed, that they for some reason they created berms on either side when there's going to be swales. So you can't do that in this time of year. It's frozen, it's wet, high groundwater. So it might not be April, it might not be until May or June we're well aware of the high groundwater table out there. And the situation with the Fagan property and the Poirier property as well. Once, next summer, once we get some hydro seed down and get some grass seed established, that should help with the drainage situation as well. And put the swales on either side of the driveway.
Just as a comment to that, if this were something that we were asked to address, we wouldn't leave it as, let's wait till next year.
Oh, no.
Right,
Well,
we would ask for temporary protection until such time that you could build
Right.
the permanent swales. Because just as Mrs. Fagan said, that we should protect, we're not allowing people to
Oh, no, I understand that. I understand that.
manage the runoff by just letting it run off to other people's property. So that should be an expectation, if we get all these things sorted out,
Right.
that we would want you to be clear on, and we would probably have a condition in that requires you to maintain the management of the stormwater throughout.
Oh, certainly, yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, I think we need a continuance.
But Ken, when do you think that you're going to have all this information into us? We want it at least a week before the meeting,
When's the next meeting?
March 8th.
That'll be next week.
So can we get the information into by next week?
No.
All right, then we'll have to move it to March 22nd.
Yeah, we only have one thing on the agenda right now, right? So
Right.
we have room for it.
I just don't know how long that thing is going to take. If they don't have all their submittals in by March 8th, you're going to do an immediate continuance on that one.
Is that Toll Brothers?
On the Marshfield?
No.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you want to have it, make it like 7:30 with the they may have to wait to be conservative.
Yeah, I would rather do that. If
Okay.
you think it's likely that we're going to need another continuance on that one, we don't want to wait around for an hour to
Right.
do the next thing, right? Which may be a burden on you guys that if they do come in, you'll have to wait around for half an hour or an hour or something until we get that sorted out.
What's the question of coming in, just put us on at 7:05, and if they don't come in, we're on at 7:05, and if not, we'll wait till after their hearing anyway.
That's fine by
Does
me.
that make sense?
Right.
I'd rather chance of not waiting than waiting.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then we'll continue it to March 22nd at 7:05 PM, and we'll need to continue the time to action to April 13th, 2018.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
I move to accept the applicant's request to continue the public hearing for the accessory dwelling special permit at 7 Elm Park until March 22nd, 2018 at 7:05 PM, and to continue the time for action for filing with the town clerk until April 13th, 2018.
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I would encourage you to get the deed thing.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, because then otherwise it's hard for us, well, it's impossible for us to make a decision.
Okay.
It is a very, I'd move in that house in a second. That's beautiful.
Looks like a house.
Well, it is a house, yeah.
Okay, we're a little late, but this is the public hearing for 167 Driftway, the dog park.
Got all of that.
Thank you for your patience.
You can, right?
You want to put it on that? Which side do you prefer, that one?
To put it up over there, the camera can see it better.
I can say, I looked at the plans.
What's that?
I looked at the plans.
Fancy one.
Yep. Needs to get more important.
Mr. Chairman, with the board, Sean McCarthy with the Scituate DPW. With me tonight is Adrian Rose, president of the Scituate.
We need
Friends of
to
Scituate Dog Park. And our design engineer.
Oh, cool.
Justin Ramro from West
Thank you.
Witten.
He's got good cartoons, too.
I know this came before you a couple of years ago conceptually.
Has it been that long?
Yeah.
It was August 25th, 2016.
Wow.
And then April 13th, 2017, you were back.
So we've,
I got all my notes.
so we've incorporated a lot of the comments that Adrian received along the way through
Great.
the boards into the final design plans. We met with conservation last evening, and they had no objections to post their hearing as well as the notice of intent final.
And were there, like, order conditions that came out of that?
They will be issued. Yes. They had a peer review, review the drainage design.
Yeah, I think we saw that.
Analysis from Mel.
Yep. He's not here tonight, but
No, the stormwater was
that was for contract.
reviewed through conservation because a large part of the project is in the, is subject to Conservation Commission jurisdiction.
Right.
So we don't do the double peer review.
If I remember right, there were just a couple of recommendations that came
Yeah,
out
and
of
they
that.
incorporated them.
That will be incorporated into the order conditions.
That'll be, right.
Okay.
We'll hand it off to Justin to get into the technical aspects of the discussion.
I don't know where the best place to stand is, but maybe behind.
Yeah, that's a pretty good spot right there.
Okay. Justin Lammer, Worsley Witten. So just to get situated, we have Driftway to the north, Driftway Trail shown here in gray, Go Green Landscaping. Scituate turbine shown on the graphic. We have the McKecker trail system to the south. And then the wetland system that we talked about last night with Concom. In terms of the actual park, so we have two areas, very similar to what was, I think, talked about a year and a half ago when we were here informally. We have a large dog area, it's about an acre in size, and then a smaller area that's half acre for smaller dogs. Both of these will be fully fenced in. Fence down the center, it'll be a 6-foot chain link fence. We'll have some maintenance gates connecting the areas so we can get in and out and do maintenance on the park itself.
Where does the medium dog go? I'm just kidding.
He's hang in the middle. Inside the park, we have 4 benches, 2 in each area. We also have this.
Where are the benches?
The benches are shown as, what's the symbol they use? There's basically 2 here.
It's a black rectangle.
Black thing, okay.
Yeah. They can spread out the best we can. You're trying to get people to use the backs of the park, so we put benches towards the back sides also to try to get people to move around. We have three trash receptacles, all located near the park head area for maintenance, for taking the trash out. Makes sense. And then we have 7 trash dog waste receptacle stations throughout both parks. Into the park, we have a double gate, which is one on any dog park. In that same area, we have 2 dog watering bowls, one in each park also, and a dog wash station in the area of the double gated entrance. Also a bulletin board to let visitors know of any upcoming events, a rules and regulations signage, and also what was the third sign? Rules and regulations, bulletin, and a welcome sign. I'm sorry. The entrance off the driftway. So we have ample sight distance in both directions, over 500 feet. That was in your package we gave you. About 340 is required for that speed and type of road. So we have more than enough sight distance. We are paving the entrance off the driftway because it is a little steep. The parking lot itself will be fairly level, about 1%, 1 to 2%, which will be nice because it is proposed to be gravel. We'll have a gutter line down the lower end of this parking stall to keep all the gravel within the parking lot, which will then discharge to a bioretention that's sized for the 1-inch storm for water quality.
Where's that?
It's this blue
right
symbol here.
Yeah, I got it.
Yep, has a kind of a tree covering it, basically. That system will discharge then to an underground chamber system, which is under the parking lot for stormwater retention, attenuation, and recharge. The parks themselves are slightly depressed to hold stormwater to further filter stormwater and give it a little better retention time before it gets to the wetland resource area.
Are you okay with the retention, the buried retention basin? Is it well above the groundwater level?
It is, yeah. It's
So
over.
you've done samples or test pits there or something?
Ron and I were out there
Yeah.
in one of the colder days, but we dug down the groundwater. It was actually deeper than we thought, and yep, we logged the pits. I'm a licensed soil evaluator, so yeah. I'm sorry.
Good material as well. I'm surprised
Yeah.
Boston sand and gravel up and like that behind.
Vegetation, we are proposing some trees for the parking lot. There'll be specimen trees, and then around the perimeter, we'll have some screening where we can, some evergreens, and then any areas we disturb will be hydroseeded with a fescue mix, harmony mix. Anything adjacent to woods will get a wildflower added to that mix.
That's on the outside of the dog park?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then, if I remember right, the last time we talked, we were talking about like cedar chips for the inside? Is that still what's
Mulch.
proposed?
Yeah, most trees, yeah.
You can't be cedar because the dogs will eat it, it's not good for them, it'll be natural.
Oh, I had written down cedar, so it's changed since then.
Just fine.
And we are completely out of the floodplain, so that's another benefit.
Okay. Questions?
Looks good. I just had I think I read, just to verify, well, on the parking lot, you'll have the concrete bumper strips, right?
Correct.
On the gravel, because otherwise it's so hard to know how to park on gravel. And then the other question I had was, didn't we talk about maybe a connection to the trail system?
We talked about that for the future, but not for this.
Okay.
Venue. It's not funding for it.
All right. And then, is there any, I see there's some trees here for the screening from Go Green. Is that what those trees are, sort of proposed? Like, are you planning to plant any trees along that back perimeter?
Those are existing trees.
Oh, they are, okay.
Yes. There are we are saving any tree we can. A lot of them are black walnut trees, which aren't good for dogs, because they have those green tennis ball looking seeds.
Oh, yeah.
But we are keeping every tree that isn't black walnut. So there's some oaks, we're a couple cedars we're keeping, so inside the limited disturbance, working on those.
And then also I saw in the specifications, just again to verify, all the fencing is black coated, right? Okay.
And how high?
6 foot.
6 foot. Okay.
No, I mean, you've come such a long ways in a year and a half, or it's not been quite 2 years. So it looks great. What's the pavilion detail? Where's that?
It's on C, it's in the center of.
Oh, that's what that is, in the center between the two?
The shade structure?
Yeah,
Exactly.
okay.
Basically a four-post system.
And is it like a metal roof? Is that what that is?
I believe it's aluminum.
We're pricing that out currently, so, but that's the idea, is that it would be a four-post system with a roof on.
Again, I'm always talking about design
Is there something
aesthetics.
under it, or is it just natural?
It'll have sonotubes just for the post to anchor to the ground, but yeah, it'll have the same mulch. We may run some of the stone, we have the stone dust path that runs through, you can see it almost connects, so we'll probably connect it with the stone dust path there. I should have pointed that out to you.
Which one's the stone dust path?
That's this,
The looping path?
yeah, these,
Right.
Oh, okay.
it's
So-
an ADA walkways.
Gotcha.
Is there a gate under the pavilion, or can you walk? Like, let's say you're in the pavilion for the small dog area. Could you walk over to the large dog area?
You have to walk out and back in.
When you say walk out and back in, what do you mean by that?
You have to go back to the entrance.
Double gated.
So, right through the pavilion, or the shade structure, would be a fence.
Correct.
It seems a bit odd, but...
Well, we're trying to,
Can't mix large and
cost
small.
effective.
No, it just seems like odd that there'd be like this nice little shade structure, and then it seems to me like there should be a gate between the two, but...
But that's not safety for the
Yeah,
dogs.
okay, all right. And then the only request I would have aesthetically is that the roof be some pleasing color, like dark green, or not bright blue or pink or something.
Yeah, we were thinking forest green.
Yeah, that'd be perfect. But anyway, great.
What's going in between kind of the stone dust path and the fence? Is that all, is the whole area mulch or is?
Mulch.
Okay, so just the coloration is different, 'cause
Yeah, that's.
it's just from the overlay, yeah, the satellites, yeah. And I just had a comment, just to note, it's really minor, but the tree protection detail and the construction details is different than on the landscape details. One has like a root zone protection area, one just has 2x4s around the trunk of the tree, so
Yeah.
I don't know what punted to you guys to recommend,
So
what's
I-
best practice there. but-
I'll tell you, the landscape architects always try to go with the giant orange fence, but then you end up with giant orange fence through. In this situation, we're not really doing a lot of earthwork, so I think you get away with the trunk just visually, but at least if you have a suggestion yourself. I mean, I understand the large one, what that we're trying to do here
Yeah,
on that detail, but
How will this all be prepped? You're gonna have to have a front end loader or something like that that's moving around?
I mean, we'll drop the trees, there's minor grading,
Yeah.
yep, so you'll come in, scrape it in with a front end loader, yeah.
I would say you probably want some orange fence around the trees you're trying to protect then,
Yeah.
because those guys don't see anything.
Yeah. We can tweak those details a little bit.
Yeah.
and then my last comment was just about the kind of the entryway. I understand that you're good with the site distances and everything are working out, but just I do know that area from using the path and kind of hanging out a lot in the driftway area, it's a little bit sloped down if I remember. So in the traffic kind of assessment, was that taken into place? Because I know it's always tricky when you're facing up and then you see someone flying around the corner, you've already started going.
Yep.
Can be a little tricky there. So I just don't know if that kind of the slope was taken into account. in
Yeah,
the
so it's
traffic.
5%, which is, it's steep, but it's definitely manageable in a car. It's not like it's 10% or 12%. It's a fairly average slope to
Okay.
get up. And then the path itself will be at 2, and then you go back to, like a 5-ish.
Okay.
We designed it so people wouldn't bottom out.
Right. That's all I had.
Okay.
I'm good.
I just wanted to follow up on some of my other notes. So how are we managing the pedestrian and traffic flow at the trail itself? I think one of the things we talked about was some kind of sort of signage or something that protected the pedestrians from the vehicle traffic. How is that being done?
Yes, I presented you the signage before, I believe, or maybe it wasn't to this committee, I apologize if that's the case. There'll be a sign at the crosswalk before they get onto the driveway, asking pedestrians to be aware that traffic is coming and going.
So signs for the pedestrians, so facing in either direction.
Of the
path.
trail.
Right.
Mhm.
What about for the vehicles?
Yep, so
Is there-
we
is
have a stop.
Pedestrian crossing or, something?
Yep, we have a stop sign for cars leaving the site onto the driftway, then we have 2 signs on the actual facing path in both directions, bringing them to the attention that cars will be crossing there. We can add a 4th sign before the crossing to say, look out for pedestrians if that's what you'd like to see.
Well, I think it's just probably in order of priority, the vehicles need to watch for the pedestrians. Yeah, the pedestrians need to watch for vehicles, but
Yeah, it's not
really the guy in the big 2,000-pound car or whatever it is,
We
who
can
should
do
watch out for the pedestrians.
Pedestrian crossing sign, yes, we can add that in.
Well, I'm also assuming, again, based on this drawing or picture, that there would be the painted zebra crossing?
There is.
Okay.
Yep, it's on the plan.
And is there some, just thinking about this, if you get anybody queuing, is there some notion that the cars won't, park and block the path until somebody gets out? How's that, I just can't tell from the scale how much room there is here.
Yeah, and I think the sign you just mentioned will probably, it'll point down towards the crossing, so maybe that'll help, that they don't go onto the crossing, because it'll be striped on the ground. on the asphalt, and you'll have that sign saying, stop here for pedestrians.
Okay. Yeah, I think if that's what we have, watch for pedestrians,
Yeah.
don't block the pathway or something like that, or just stop here.
Yep, it's a typical sign, we can add that. People are used to seeing that.
The lighting, you say, is all solar lighting?
Yes.
Did we, what does that look like?
It says,
Bollards, there's no bollards.
Are they on this?
well, on the plan you say future. Is that still the case? It says lighting fixtures future?
It may be worked in at this level. We're just finalizing some pricing on that because I am getting a wholesale from the client.
So the intent is to put them in?
The intent is for
Okay.
And they're lights that, will they be on all night kind of thing?
No, they're going to be scheduled to go off about a half hour after dusk, so not quite dark. And it will be manually changed. They are coming out with a new product that will be able to be timed. This is absolutely brand new. So until then, we're going to manually set them so that they're not on throughout the night.
Okay. See if I had anything else. And who is handling the ongoing maintenance and operations of this facility? So no DPW involvement at all?
No,
or-
we have a maintenance operation agreement with the town, and we also have a maintenance and operation committee, and you're looking at it.
No disrespect, but there needs to be more than you doing it,
No, I
right?
understand. Also with Stanton, it requires, I think I pointed it out to you, that there's a member of the town, 2 members of the town.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, there's a memorandum of understanding between the funding source, the Stanton Foundation, and the town. And
And what is that?
DPW is involved as well with further maintenance. She may have plowing in the winter, but we're going to have inspection stops periodically throughout the day from DPW staff. Keep an eye on things. Make sure that the maintenance is being taken care of appropriately, just like the beach trash cans. Some
So are you
more
emptying
than
trash
others.
cans and stuff, or is that something you're doing?
I'm doing that.
Okay.
And we actually have a full board of directors, and there is another member for the operations committee. He's not here tonight. So, and they'll ultimately be the 2 of us communicating with the town. And the town just wants to be sure that we're doing what we said we were going to do.
And you have an agreement with the town that
Yes.
that
It's
essentially,
in
have we seen that? Did we get a copy of that?
I don't believe we have a copy of that. I can get you a copy.
I'd just like to see it, yeah. Let's see. And did we end up with is there a maintenance gate on this?
Yes.
A separate gate somewhere?
Yes.
Where's it located?
Those red triangles, upside down triangles.
Yeah.
In the car.
Gotcha, okay.
We actually need one in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah. we
There,
need one
it
in-
isn't planned, I think they just missed
Yeah,
it on the.
I'll show you that.
Oh, okay, I can see that. So there'll be 2 on the outside, And,
One for each area, I guess, huh?
right, and then
Yeah.
one in the middle that's a sliding gate, so the large machines can get in and out between the 2 parts inside.
Is that what this is on the far right of this fence line? Is that what it
Yeah,
is?
that's what it looks like.
Yeah, okay.
It's having safety black.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the double wire, double swing gate on the details. Is that right?
Yeah, we're looking at the ADA compliant hardware as well.
Right. And then what, you mentioned wash station and all that. Is there a water supply coming in?
Correct.
There is?
Yeah.
From?
Off the driftway.
Off the driftway. So do you have to go into the road?
No, the
So
main's
it's on the-
actually off the street.
It's off the
They've
street?
realigned the driftway since that water
Okay.
main was put in it. meanders within the pavement and into the woods, and in this area, it's
Uh-huh.
15 feet off the roadway edge. Yeah.
Okay. And then, I know we talked about this before. Are we still in the same place in terms of just operating hours? I think the last time we talked, it was first thing in the morning to 10 o'clock at night?
I don't think it'll be 10 o'clock so much, but probably 9.
Okay.
And that
7
would be
days a week?
summertimes, yes. And that would be in the summertime, in the winter, it would probably be, 7 or 8. Just to give a chance for people to come home from work, to be able to still get out, stretch their legs, stretch their dog's legs, even if they get home at 7 or 8.
Okay. I think that was everything on my list at this point. Oh, we already did benches. Okay.
I had, just popped in my head if I could ask a question, just any play structures? I think I remember we talked about that.
We have talked about that. We were going to possibly put like a boulder in the small dog park and a drainage pipe in the large dog park.
Okay.
We're hoping to get that donated.
Okay, and,
Would your dog like that?
Sure. Oh, for me to donate? I don't know.
do you know the person for your operating committee? I think that's all I have.
I just thought of a couple more things. One is regarding the wash stations. I know it's probably a little bit outside our purview, but are you going to use like the automatic shut-off things like you'd have in a public restroom? So, okay, so the last person at the end of the day is going to leave the water on. And then the other thing I just thought of looking at the layout is, are any of these parking spots going to be kind of striped for no parking? Because the one thing I was thinking is if the lot was full and somebody pulls in and has no place to park, they would probably have to back up, back towards Driftway. And I just didn't know if there's a place where someone could turn around if the lot was full.
Not currently, but I mean, that is a valid concern.
You could conceptually pull into if the 3 handicap spaces weren't full, you could conceptually use that to turn around, to pull in and back out.
Right. It is kind of a dead end, though. How did you get to the number 23?
That was determined a year and a half ago when I think everybody else met before we get on board. So we kind of.
That was Greg's plan.
It's based on some of the other dog parks in the area. They go between 6 and 30 spaces, and so what will fit in here is 23, and based on the surrounding areas, this was determined to be a reasonable number of spaces.
I think it's a valid concern, and we ought to put like a pin in that and say, let's at least revisit this in a year and see if we've created a parking nightmare. I don't know how many people are going to use this thing, right? But if we've created a parking nightmare, we're going to need to figure out how to fix it, right? As opposed to just, wait for the next accident to happen.
Are there 2 or 3 handicap spaces? 2. So there's 2, so if that's correct, there's one in between that's paved. I assume that's not going to have a curb on it. So let's just say theoretically that every single space was filled and the 2 handicap spaces were filled. You'd still be able to pull in between the 2 handicaps to back out to do a turnaround.
That's a van space too, so it's larger.
Yeah.
It's not the
I don't know, Richard. That looks really tight.
I can just say I've done some amazing things at the Rivershed parking lot.
But, parking by feel is not what we're talking about here.
Well, I think Ben's got a valid point.
Even the parking as it is, but I would say we ought to have a check-in after a year and just make sure that we don't have parking problems. I just think of places like the Rivershed and stuff. You go in there and it's like a nightmare in that place sometimes, so.
Yeah,
And maybe this won't end up being that problem, and that will be
Unless we
fine.
start serving beer there, and then we'll have the same problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the brewery's not far from here, so. Okay. So, any other questions? We have any questions from the audience yet?
Yes, number 23, I take it is for parking only?
Could you just identify yourself?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Teresa Nielsen,
Yep.
Scituate. I assume number 23 is for the parking.
23 is the number of spaces in the
Oh, it's
parking lot.
23 spaces.
Yeah, that is the parking space.
area,
That is the parking area right there where the 23 is.
number 23, well,
Yeah.
they're not numbered. And the dog park itself, is it going to be all fenced in or wide open? So
No,
they
it's
can
all fenced in.
it's
All
safe
fenced
through
in.
there?
No, it's all fenced in.
It's going to be all fenced in.
It's fenced in. The large dog area is fenced separately
Well, it
from the
doesn't say
small
anything
dog
on
area.
here, it's just a bunch of numbers and doesn't say what the things are for. So it's kind of confusing.
Yeah.
'Cause,
We have a complete set of plans up here that show all this too, so.
You know, plans that shows out with all the.
Yeah.
We don't have that on the paper.
As I said, it's a nice cartoon.
That's all right.
But yes, there's a fence around
Everything
both
is
areas,
fenced in.
6-foot high, black chain link fence. What kind of posts?
Metal.
Metal posts?
Black.
Any other questions, comments? Okay. Well, I think we can be ready for a motion. Please read.
I got it. I move to make the following findings of fact. One, the applicant submitted a site plan entitled Scituate Dog Park, the Driftway, Scituate, Massachusetts, dated January 2018 by Justin Lamoureux, P.E. of Horsley Witten Group Incorporated for Town of Scituate. 2, the new dog park was funded through design from a grant by the Stanton Foundation. $48,700 of Community Preservation Committee funds was approved at the 2017 annual town meeting for creation of a dog park. This shows community support for the project. 3, the property is vacant land and is located in the Commercial Zoning District, Water Resource Protection District, Zone 2, and the Planned Development District. 4, the project proposes construction of a dog park with access provided by bituminous concrete driveway from Driftway, a pervious stone and gravel parking area with 23 parking spaces, including 2 ADA spaces, which will be constructed of bituminous concrete. A pathway system and 2 dog activity areas are proposed with benches and trash/dog waste receptacles, a shade structure, 2 dog water fountains, and a dog wash station. The dog surface areas are mulched and gated with a 6-foot-high black chain link fence with double gates. 5, the property at 167 Driftway is surrounded on all sides by land owned by the town of Scituate. The Scituate wastewater treatment plant lies to the southeast of the site, along with the wind turbine to the south. The town leases land to Go Green, a landscape processing center immediately to the east of the dog park site. Widows Walk Golf Course is to the north, and open land with a boat ramp and trails lie to the west. The dog park will be fenced in, providing the adjoining premises with protection against any detrimental or offensive uses of the site. The site plan meets the standard of review of Scituate zoning bylaw section 770.6, paragraph A. The Scituate zoning bylaw section 760.6, table of minimum parking requirements requires the parking demand for uses not listed in the zoning bylaw to be determined by the planning board. 23 parking spaces have been provided, including 2 handicap spaces. Parking appears to be more than sufficient for the proposed use. The driveway coming into the site is 11.1 feet wide and separated by and around an existing utility pole to remain. The driveway exiting is 11.3 feet wide. The driveway narrows down to 22 feet in width as it enters the gravel parking lot. Signage will be placed on both sides of the pedestrian/bicycle path crossing the driveway to alert walkers and bikers to crossing traffic and to come to a stop at the entrance. A painted crosswalk is being provided across the driveway. The driveway is at least 20 feet wide and there is only one driveway entrance to the site. access for Go Green and the wastewater treatment plant are located over 500 feet away to the east. Stopping site distances of over 500 feet are provided where 360 feet are required, meeting AASHTO requirements. The site plan meets the standards for section 770.6B and C for traffic safety, ease of access, pedestrian safety, minimizing glare of headlights, and access for service and emergency vehicles. 6, combinations of trash and dog waste receptacles are being provided along with dog waste bags. The Friends of Scituate Dog Park will be responsible for waste disposal on a weekly basis. A 1-inch water supply line will supply the dog wash station and dog water fountains with water. Existing fire hydrants are located to the east and west of the site in the road row. The site plan meets the standard of review of Scituate zoning bylaw section 770.6D for adequacy of methods of waste disposal, adequacy of water supply, and firefighting facilities on the site. 7, the site plan and stormwater report were reviewed by the Conservation Commission's consulting engineer of Merrill Associates. The site is in the Water Resource Protection District and Zone 2 to a public well. The stormwater system has been designed to improve water quality by reducing total suspended solids by at least 90% as required by the zoning bylaw. The stormwater management system will treat water through 2 bioretention areas and an underground infiltration area, providing artificial recharge. The underground infiltration area is located greater than 3 feet above groundwater. The applicant has met with the Water Resources Committee, who desires the same water restrictions for the dog park as the town. Periodic inspections by the Friends of Scituate Dog Park and DPW staff will be conducted to protect against toxic or hazardous materials discharge. The site plan meets the standard of Scituate zoning bylaw section 770.6E and F for adequacy of stormwater management and control of toxic and hazardous materials in the Zone 2 subdistrict and Water Resource Protection District. 8, the dog park has been graded to fit into the site. Cut and fill is minimized, and a buffer of existing trees to remain will be to the south and east. Existing trees along Driftway will remain in the right-of-way. The Conservation Commission has reviewed a notice of intent for the project, closed their public hearing on February 21st, 2018, and expects to issue order of conditions in the very near future. An erosion and sedimentation control plan will be used, and soil will be reused on site. Black vinyl chain link will be used to fence in the dog areas. 3 shade trees of 2.5-inch caliper are provided to shade the parking area. Solar bollards will be provided by the Friends of the Dog Park for lighting. The site plan meets the standards of Scituate zoning bylaw section 770.6 G, H, and I. 9, as indicated above, the pedestrian/bicycle path on Driftway provides access to the site. Access to the path can be obtained through the gravel parking area. The gravel parking area is suitable for recreational use in the Water Resources Protection District. The site plan meets the standards of Scituate zoning bylaw section 770.6J. 10, the site plan entitled Scituate Dog Park, The Driftway, Scituate, Massachusetts, dated January 2018 by Justin Lamoureux, P.E. of Horsley Witten Group Incorporated, meets the requirements of the Town of Scituate zoning bylaw section 770.6 site plan review standards of review to a degree consistent with reasonable use of the site for the purpose permitted by the regulations of the district in which the land is located. Those are the findings of fact.
Okay, just a couple of things, just going back as we went along. I think on item 5 on page 2, where it says parking appears to be more than sufficient, I would just say parking appears to be sufficient. And then the next paragraph, I'm not sure I read this right.
There's a word missing. The driveway coming into the site is 11.1 feet wide and separated by an island around an existing utility pole to remain. There's a small little island so that the pole is protected.
Okay. And then it says the driveway existing is 11.3 feet wide. The driveway narrows down to 22 feet. It sounds like it widens.
Here's the maybe.
Okay, we can say it, all right, widens too.
Right?
Yeah, it's 211, the lanes, all right, yep.
Okay. I would also like somewhere, maybe in item 6, that we reference that the Friends of Scituate Dog Park have signed an operations and maintenance agreement, if that's what it's called, with the town of Scituate. Dated whatever it is. I think that was it.
I had one comment based
Yep.
on what we just discussed. Up on number 5, it says signage will be placed on both sides of the pedestrian bicycle path crossing the driveway to alert walkers and bikers to crossing traffic, and then a painted crosswalk is being provided. Did you want to add one line that says there will also be a sign indicating that cars must stop or be cautious for pedestrians?
Yeah, we can do that, yep.
The signs we discussed.
Yeah. I mean, only because we talked about the other signs, so.
Yep, no, that's good, so we should add that in here. However you said it.
Yeah.
Karen will get it right.
Yeah, have you said it?
Also, I'd just say, add a sentence there.
Well,
A
it says a
sign
painted crosswalk is being
provided across the driveway, and a sign will alert.
Pedestrian crossing signs.
Yeah, a sign will alert drivers to
pedestrian crossing.
pedestrian crossing.
Yeah.
Perfect.
All right, that's good. Do we have a second as amended?
I second that as amended, our discussions.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous? Okay. Moving on.
I move to approve the site plan for the Scituate Dog Park, the Driftway, Scituate, Mass., dated January 2018 by Justin Lamoureux, P.E. of Horsley Witten Group Incorporated, subject to the following conditions. 1, the project shall be in accordance with the site plan entitled Scituate Dog Park, the Driftway, Scituate, Massachusetts, dated January 2018 by Justin Lamoureux, P.E. of Horsley Witten Group Incorporated for the town of Scituate. Any further changes from these plans other than to incorporate the conditions below will require approval of the planning board. 2, materials and details of construction, including connection to town water, shall meet all requirements of the DPW, Board of Health, Fire Department, Conservation Commission, Building Department, and Commission on Disabilities. Where this site plan administrative review requires approval, permitting, or licensing from any local, state, or federal agency, such required approval, permitting, or licensing is deemed a condition of the Town of Scituate Planning Board's approval of this site plan. All necessary permits and approvals must be received prior to construction. 3, the number of parking spaces for a dog park is not specifically regulated by the table of minimum requirements, section 760.6 of the Scituate zoning bylaw, but is included in all other uses in this table subject to the determination by the planning board. The 23 spaces shown on the plans, including 2 spaces that are ADA/AAB compliant, are based on estimated users of the dog park and available land area. In review of designs of other dog parks, the space count ranges from 6 to 30 spaces. The planning board determines the number of parking spaces shown on the plans, 23, is adequate for the proposed use. 4, approval of a new curb cut on Driftway must be obtained from the Scituate DPW. 5, chemical abrasives used for removal of snow and ice on the grounds, commercial fertilizers, and other hazardous materials shall be stored off-site. Prior to scheduling the pre-construction conference, Condition 6, the following items shall be added to the plans prior to scheduling the pre-construction conference. Locations for snow storage to provide sufficient room for snow for major storms shall be shown on the plan and approved by the Conservation Commission and DPW. Seed mixes shall be shown on the plans. 7, prior to scheduling the pre-construction conference, a check to cover inspections by the consulting engineer shall be provided by the applicant. A schedule and sequence of construction activities shall be provided to the town planner, and the final stormwater pollution prevention plan shall be provided to the planning board office. Construction conditions. 8, a pre-construction conference will be required prior to the start of the construction, including a representative of the DPW, the Conservation and Natural Resource Officer, the DPW, or his representative, the site contractor, and the town planner. 9, any work within the right-of-way of Driftway shall be coordinated with the DPW. The DPW shall be notified prior to the start of work within the right-of-way of Driftway. Other than as required by this work, there shall be no parking or idling of vehicles on Driftway during construction. 10, stormwater control measures shall be maintained according to plans and long-term pollution prevention plan and stormwater operation and maintenance plan contained in the stormwater report submitted for this project and the SWIP plan. All clearing and earth-moving operations shall only occur while erosion and sedimentation control measures are in place. 11, a crushed stone construction entrance as detailed on the plans shall be required and installed prior to the start of work in any area. Water and sediment shall not be discharged into the subsurface infiltration areas and bioretention areas until the site is fully stabilized. 12, the town planner shall be notified when erosion control measures are in place, when construction begins, or when construction is completed. If deemed necessary by the town planner in consultation with the DPW engineering staff and the Conservation and Natural Resource Officer, temporary sedimentation basins, check dams, silt socks, and/or noise and dust control may be required in addition to the erosion control measures shown on the plan. All erosion control measures shall remain until the town planner and/or Conservation and Natural Resource Officer determines that the danger of erosion or sedimentation no longer exists. 13, construction shall proceed according to the construction phasing plans. 14, construction shall not begin prior to 7 a.m. weekdays and 8 a.m. or on Saturday and shall cease no later than 7 p.m. or sunset, whichever is earlier. No construction shall take place on Sunday or legal/federal holidays. After construction conditions, 15, a set of as-built plans stamped by a registered surveyor and reviewed by the registered professional engineer who designed the system shall be submitted to the planning board within 30 days of completion of the work. This plan shall include the construction conditions of the stormwater management system, grading, dog park, and driveways. The as-built plan must be found in compliance with the approved permit. All grading and landscaping must be complete prior to the as-built submittal. 16, no parking lot lighting is provided. Lighting for the dog areas will be by solar bollards.
Okay, did we have any comments as we went through? I had a few, but anybody with findings of facts? Let me get back to my page here. So I would say my first comment was on 3. Anybody before that?
No.
Okay, on item 3, at the end of item 3, I think we should add a sentence that says the applicant or the proponent or whoever should report back to the planning board on the parking situation at the end of the first year of operation of the dog park. Just to report on how the parking is working and whether there needs to be an adjustment.
Would you report to the town planner or the planning board? Or does it matter?
Well, I'd like to see it. I mean, you could send a report to the town planner, and if it's fine, that would be fine. I mean, we don't need to hold a hearing on it if we don't need to.
Yeah, I guess that was my point, yeah.
Yeah. But I'd like to make sure there's sort of an affirmative check-in after it's been in operation for a year. And the only other comments I had was on item 7. Can we add a bullet item that includes, you'll provide a copy of the O&M agreement with the town? And then let's make sure we addressed, are the concrete parking bumpers affirmatively in the plan, or do we need to point that out here?
Yeah, they are on the plan.
They're on the plan?
They're on the
Okay.
plan. I mean, we can add them in here if you think, but.
No, if they're on the plan, it's fine.
You're gonna put them on the plan, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Karen?
they're gonna be on the plan.
They're not on it now.
Right, they're not. They're gonna be revised to be put on the plan.
All right, so can we put on this list that will
Yep, we can add that on.
concrete, parking curbs? Did we address Ben's comment about fencing around the trees that are to be preserved? Can we add an item for that? And this
Under
could-
construction?
Well, it could be all, Is there a prior to construction kind of thing?
Well, there's prior to the scheduling the pre-construction conference and then just construction.
What's the first one?
Maybe like in 6 under where it says seedless, it shall be sown.
I agree, that's where we should add it,
Okay.
yeah.
Yep, let's put it there. That's good. And then we should also put in this comment about automatic shut-offs for the wash stations. Is that in the drawings already, or should we add it to our list here?
We're still selecting the proper, they all have their own little nuances.
Yeah, I'm not suggesting you pick one or the other. I'm just
Yeah.
suggesting we put in here a condition that says you'll provide automatic water shut-offs.
Sure, that's fine.
Okay.
In the same place as another bullet under 6?
Yeah, maybe that's a
Okay.
good spot for it.
Well, and just like the other conditions where we say it's approved by the DPW, you could just say approved by the DPW for water control faucets.
Yeah. That could be, yeah. Could be automatic water shut-offs as approved by the DPW, that's fine. I just want to get the requirement in there. And then the only other thing I'd like to do, and I would like to hear back from you before we add this, is we kind of blew through the notion of connecting to the trails. And I'd like to make sure we don't lose that sort of public, connection. So I would ask you, I mean, what I was thinking is that we provide a condition that says, after construction, after the first year of operation, you'll come back to us and talk to us about how we might be able to make those connections and what it would take to do that. I just don't want to lose sight of the fact that we said the future and who knows how long out that's going to go.
We did start to look at that initially, and the additional cost was one, and second was there's fill, and I don't know if it was placed there when the turbine was constructed to turn the tractor trailers around, that pushes you into the 50-foot buffer with conservation. So there's a couple of things. We could cut through the middle of the fill to stay out of the 50. They're not sure who put conservation, I've talked about it with Amy, who put the fill there? Does it need to be removed? Or do we just hand cut a meandering trail to make that connection and don't surface it? Kind of let it wear down just from people making that connection. So it was considered, it's not going to disappear.
So maybe what we could do is, I don't want to slow you down on getting the actual dog park built, but maybe a year after it, you could come back and sort of identify, potential options for making that connection. And so you can figure out how to write that.
Maybe say after the first year of operation, Friends of Scituate Dog Park will come back to the planning board to discuss connections to existing trails.
Sure.
Yeah, that's a good discuss, sounds good.
Yeah, I'd like to obviously provide some input on how that might be done, right? Not just to discuss it, right? But have looked at it, right? That was everything on my list. Anybody else?
Speaking of trails, I'm just looking at this map. Could you walk through there now? Is it too under or overgrown? I mean, you could, because I've been on that sandy area. I mean, you could probably just walk through there, meandering. If maybe in the summer, I know it gets a lot of undergrowth.
Yeah, it is brushy
Okay.
underneath, that's for sure, yeah. A lot of undergrowth.
Okay.
I just think we shouldn't lose sight of that.
Yeah, I think it would be nice.
A nice public benefit.
Sure,
so-
especially if you park at the boat ramp.
Yeah, and walk
Out of
over.
the way and
Right.
make the connection.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, with all those amendments, do we have a second?
I second that.
As amended?
As amended, I'm sorry.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, you're all set.
Thank you very much.
Another step along the long process.
Sticking with it.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
When do you think construction, do you want to do it by, have it open by the summer, you think, or the fall?
Yeah, we're going to start in April.
Hoping to bid this early April. Takes about a month probably to get on the selectmen's agenda to award it, review their, step back, review their references.
Right.
Get their insurance and bonds, maybe a month, 6 weeks.
So this is all the construction's managed by DPW and it's managed by the town?
I'm
Is that
sure
right?
we're gonna continue to have oversight on this. I know Laura was the original contact.
Yeah.
And then Stanton required somebody from the town be the contact. And the lucky one who became that person.
Yeah, I'm just surprised that it sort of requires following sort of the town procurement process. Is that because it's CPC money or what? Just an education on my part.
Yeah, well, yeah, but certainly because the town is contributing some money. We did just receive a grant from the Disabilities Office in Massachusetts, so that's where some of that fencing hardware, and that's gonna be an issue too, because we'll have to procure that properly.
So you essentially are the project construction manager for this thing.
Probably that would be that way, yeah.
Good luck.
And the design engineer, I'll hold his feet to the fire as well.
So maybe I'll say conservatively May or June, you think, or is that too soon?
Well, we don't have to let the grass grow necessarily, because there isn't any inside, so once they put that mulch down.
Once they get the
Yeah,
parking
so walkways
space and
So maybe I'll say
you gotta
June.
get the stormwater infrastructure in and all that too, right?
Right,
So-
yeah,
That'd be great.
6, 8 weeks, maybe the early summer, June, that may be up in July.
Is that
I know
this
you
year?
wanted it yesterday.
That was, yeah, January. Yeah, so we, I mean, you think start to finish, is it still gonna be around 3 weeks to prepare the land, since we're not going to see them?
And it depends on the contractor, too,
Yeah.
how much time you allow him.
Yeah, right.
Well, the real work's gonna be in the access road and the stormwater infrastructure there.
I see, yeah.
That'll be
Yeah.
more work. Probably the land and then putting up the fence would be much easier, I would think.
Right, yeah, it'll all be graded. The
Yeah.
site is pretty flat for the most part, and will be that way. There's a couple of knobs of material out there, but they'll probably just take that right off and push it in the low spot.
Good luck.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
For you.
All right, take care.
Okay.
That's a good lead into
Accounting. You got any accounting?
We do.
Holy cow, I gotta pay a lot of bills tonight, huh?
Move to approve the requisition of $1,545.25 to Chesia Consulting Services LLC for construction inspections for 50 Country Way, for $40.56 to WB Mason for office supplies, for $1,632.50 for Horsley Witten Group Incorporated for peer review of Seaside at Scituate Toll Brothers, for $9,800 for Weston and Sampson for water evaluation for Seaside at Scituate Toll Brothers, for $1,170 for Merrill Corp. For site inspection for 106 Captain Pierce Road, for $22.50 for Brad Washburn for parking reimbursement, for $108.54 for legal ad for 105 Hadley Road.
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, minutes. I think we have set.
Yeah, there was, what, January 8th? Is that right? February 8th.
Yep.
Move to approve Scituate Planning Board meeting minutes from February 8th, 2018.
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Liaison reports. Anything to report?
I have nothing to liaison.
I was away this week, last week, Water Resource Committee met. I wasn't able to attend, so I'm trying to circle back with the chairwoman to find out what's going on.
I sent Karen today my comments on the scope of work
Okay.
for the water study, along with the minutes from the meeting I had with the water department. So I'm taking that all as sort of input to the scope of work. And I guess you'll get it to whoever it needs to get to at this point?
Yeah, Brad will handle it.
Okay.
And then he'll incorporate his, mine, and your comments and get it to DPW.
Okay. And when you have an updated version, you'll distribute it to us? Does anybody else need to provide input on that at this point? I think Ben sent it out to everybody.
Yeah, I think Sherry did. In my haste to,
Yeah,
I was heading out of town, but
I saw it, so. I think all I was trying to do was sort of integrate the concepts that we talked about at the meeting, particularly making sure that we were looking at things like the water conservation plan that's part of the permit with DP that addresses flows to the fish ladders and the ways to manage that. And also just sort of addressing the other issues around evaluating capacity for new development. But you have all those comments.
Well, if anyone else is going to comment, we really need the comments. They're waiting for them, so,
Tomorrow or never.
yeah.
Okay.
Can I just ask a question because I read the 2003,
Sure,
and I wanted to know.
as long as you're not looking for an answer.
Yeah, I kind of am. So it says here, one of the recommendations is that Scituate should have a one-for-one conservation for development, which includes 40 new projects. Do we ever enforce that?
You mean an offset?
Yeah, what you know.
We don't have that.
No.
The Water Resources Commission has proposed a water offset program just recently. I think Ben was at the meeting where they talked about it, and I don't know that they picked one for one. I think they were actually talking larger, but it's never developed as far as I know.
Yeah, in this, it was pretty clear that, the things that they could do to help us.
Yeah.
The guy and I especially.
That was the other thing I forgot. Will you add to the comments that part of the assessment should be an assessment of what this report said and how true it became? At some level?
Kind of interesting, 1965, they first started to notice groundwater in the town of Scituate. It's the first commentary on that, so it's.
But they had projections
Yeah.
for future growth and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I just wonder how close it was, right?
That was my homework from this. I had never heard of anybody doing that before, so I didn't know if it had been done.
I don't think Scituate has done it. Other
towns.
Certainly other towns have done it. And there's some discussion as to whether, kind of how you do it, because in some ways, it may not be legal to mandate it, but I think there's other ways to address it in Massachusetts. But I haven't heard the feedback from the Water Resources Commission yet. Any other liaison?
The other one is ZBA met last week as well. I watched the video, and the real only thing of note was that they had a Section 6 finding for the was it 14 to 16 Old Country Way.
Was that a 50-foot?
It's
No, what was that?
Change in impervious surface.
Oh, on Old Country Way. Oh, over by the brewery.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, they found that there was technically a reduction in impervious surface, and that also the kind of non-disturbance zone where the tributary of the water supply isn't really a factor as well, I guess, at least in the eyes of the Section 6 finding.
It still requires a permit here.
Yeah, I'll have to go to.
Let's make sure they know that before somebody issues a building permit.
They know that they have to wait to get the official determination from the zoning board, and then they'll be filing with other town boards.
Okay.
They absolutely know that.
Okay. Good. Planning and development report?
We've had several new stormwater permits come in. I'm working on Toll Brothers finding of facts and conditions. We have town meeting April 9th. And if you don't have your 2/9/18 Toll Brothers set, please pick up a set on the way out.
Yeah.
I would anticipate that we'll be talking about Toll Brothers a lot in April.
Yep, I think for the next meeting, we just want to make sure we have a list of the, sort of the open items and we get through them if we can. So we can sort of bring it to, as long as they've been responsive to the information we need, we just need to make sure that that's happening. Or at least they're on notice, that's what we're looking for, right, so.
They've already provided you with the purpose.
Yeah, I saw that they had come in.
They provided you on the 2/9 set of drawings. I haven't looked at it yet, but that has a revised construction sequence on it too. I've had some verbal conversations with them about other open-ended items. And, you know, we find open-ended items as you start to write the findings of fact and conditions as well. And so hopefully we can get the big chunk of the big issues discussed at the next meeting.
Okay.
And when is the town election? It's at the end, the 19th.
May 19th.
So then after that, there will theoretically be a new board member. So that's why I assume that we'd want to like vote on, make sure that things are wrapped
Yeah, we want to
up.
get to a decision before
We have to get to a decision before the May 10th meeting.
Okay.
I mean, the May 10th meeting is the latest meeting that we can finalize things. So everybody really needs to be here in April in that May 10th meeting.
And I would suggest for everybody, if you haven't thought about it for the next meeting, just flag any open issues that you think still exist that need to be addressed to Karen, so we have a complete list, if you will. Or at least the list that we know of at this time, anyway.
Do you have that little, your cheat sheet of the meetings? Does that have Toll Brothers on it, like projected?
No, just March 8th.
Oh, that's it, okay.
No, I mean, but it's going to be probably April
whenever
12th.
we need to do it, right?
Potentially April 26th and potentially May 10th. I mean, we have to, we have to, I mean, we have to do this before you get off the board.
So the 12th, 26th, and the 10th.
Yep. And maybe the 22nd of March. But I would say for March 8th, let's just, if you have items you think need to be sort of on the list of things we address, let's get them on our list now and make sure they know about them so we can be as efficient as possible here.
Yep, and right now, no travel. Or I should say, the travel is the following week of, or the last week of April. I'm potentially going to be in the UK again, but again, don't worry about it, it's all fine, it's all good.
All right. Anything else? Okay, well then I will entertain Richard's motion.
Sure, why not?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're